This is a choice that, yes, will harm Canadians, but beyond that, it will have real consequences for you, the American people.
Now that America's king dipshit Donald Trump has officially announced that he is definitely, absolutely imposing a 25% tariff on Canada, Canadians have responded, both with boos as well as tariffs of their own. So in this video, I'm going to break down the Canadian response from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, as well as a couple of examples from premiers around the country that are also responding in their own way. And I'm also going to get to the incredible response from Canadian hockey fans in at least a couple examples already. So let me first start with King Dipshit himself, Donald Trump, putting this out. This was shared by Judd on Blue Sky. Trump ran on a pledge to immediately lower prices and now admits his policies will inflict pain on Americans in the form of higher prices, but it will be, quote unquote, worth the price. So I'm not going to read through his whole diatribe here. It's the same old garbage. But he goes on to say, this will be the golden age of America. Will there be some pain? Yes, maybe, and maybe not. But we will make America great again, and it will be all worth the price that must be paid. Paid by who? Not by you, but by American consumers. We are a country that is now being run with common sense, and the results will be spectacular. Yes, common sense. Clown. So there are a few examples of people trying to sort of guess what's going to, the actual impact is going to be on Americans. The Tax Foundation here writing Trump tariffs tracking the economic impact of the Trump trade war. So they go on to estimate, and these are conservative estimates from what I'm reading, but we estimate that these tariffs will amount to an average tax increase of more than $830 per U.S. household in 2025. Congratulations. Winning with Trump. Like, this is the guy that ran on, oh, things are too expensive now. I'm going to lower the cost of eggs. And here he is just outright costing Americans more money. Congratulations. So he also went on to, again, I'm not going to read through this garbage, but he goes on to argue once again that Canada should become our cherished 51st state. So this was shared by Republicans against Trump, saying this dummy thinks he's some kind of genius, ranting about Canada becoming the 51st state of the U.S. as if it's some kind of bargaining chip in the trade negotiations. Meanwhile, Canadians across the political spectrum, right to left, are appalled by Trump's actions and rallying behind Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. It's true. It has been almost heartening. No, in fact, it has been heartening to see just the whoever it is, right, left. Look, there of course are going to be the extreme people on the right who right now are blaming Trudeau for this, which is so stupid. I don't know how anybody can possibly think this is Trudeau's fault. But if you're in that camp, you're out of your goddamn mind. But that's a small, tiny portion of people. The vast majority of people, Canadians, are coming together. And I'm not just talking about, regular everyday Canadians, but also politicians, premiers, conservative premiers working with Trudeau in this Canada First response. So I'm going to get to some of that in a minute here. But first, I got to show you the Canadian hockey fan response to this, which I got to say is not creating as much controversy as I expected. I think in part because people understand it and agree with it. So I'll play this clip. This is from a Sens game. Ottawa Senators. I am not a fan of the Ottawa Senators. You will not see me compliment the Ottawa Senators very often, but this was a fantastic job here, or a fantastic response here from Sens fans. Some boos are around the crowd there. In fact, a lot of boos around the crowd. Still some applause. I want to be clear here. People aren't booing the singer, obviously. People are not booing Americans. People are booing Donald Trump. So don't take offense to this as an American. We're not booing the average nice American. We are booing Donald Trump and whatever lunatic supports him. Now, there were a lot of reactions to this. Table Salt on Twitter writing, I've never seen Canadians boo any national anthem ever before in my entire life. It's true. You have to really screw up to get Canadians to boo any national anthem. So, congrats, I suppose. But I was surprised to see there wasn't much pushback to this. And it actually happened again later on at the Calgary Flames game, where they also booed the anthem. So I can't play this clip because this is an NHL broadcast, but I'll link to this below the video. It is, I don't know. Look, I saw this and thought, oh no, this is going to make headlines. People are going to be freaking out. No, people are totally understanding. Nobody's really angry about this. Yeah, I think we all understand these boos are directed towards what is happening right now with Donald Trump and not just, booing Americans. So it makes sense in this context. Now, before I get to Trudeau's response, I want to get to a couple of premiers responding to what is going on. Doug Ford here, which I got to say, he's not a great premier. Let's be clear. Has really screwed up healthcare, has sold out public lands to corporate insiders. But apart from all of those scandals, and there are many more, many, many, many more, when it comes to alcohol, Doug Ford has the policies. He's got quite a bit of them. So here is another one, and this one is a good one. Every year, LCBO sells nearly $1 billion worth of American wine, beer, spirits, and seltzers. Not anymore. Starting Tuesday, we're removing American products from LCBO shelves. As the only wholesaler of alcohol in the province, LCBO will also remove American products from its catalog so other Ontario-based restaurants and retailers can't order or restock U.S. products. There's never been a better time to choose an amazing Ontario-made or Canadian-made product. As always, please drink responsibly. So for anyone that doesn't know, Canada manages alcohol sales by province. So by LCBO, which manages sales in Ontario, by them cutting off American products, it's going to have a major impact on those American companies. I think this is a fantastic move, and you are seeing other provinces adopt this, including BC. So BC Premier David Eby says he directed BC liquor sales to immediately stop buying American liquor from red states and remove the I like this actually, specifically red states, and remove the highest selling brands from those states from the shelves of the province's liquor stores. Good to see. And this also applies to wineries. So BC wineries, I should say, the way that they are filling the gap here is by having more trade between provinces, which I didn't realize wasn't already a thing that was encouraged. But BC wineries can now sell directly to consumers, or I should say to customers. In Alberta, knocking down internal trade barriers is one of the ways we're strengthening and diversifying the province's economy in the face of unjust tariff threats from Donald Trump. This is fantastic. Canadians, as we'll get to when it comes to Trudeau's response, should be looking more towards buying Canadian products. Now, that isn't going to be possible in every case, but it's also not just about buying Canadian, it's also about avoiding American companies. Avoid American companies as much as possible. I know it's impossible for you to do that completely. I'm on YouTube right now, so clearly I'm going to have some issues avoiding American companies. But wherever you can, please try and buy Canadian, buy local, and if that's not possible, try and just avoid American products as much as possible. There's also these sorts of lists going around. So Tasha shared this one. Lists are already circulating of Canadian alternatives to U.S. products. Here's one. I can link this below the video. I'm sure there are others you can find if you Google, but there you go. Let's now get to Trudeau's response. So I have 3 different clips I want to share with you. I want to share with you. The first one is the part of his speech that is addressed to Americans.
This is a choice that, yes, will harm Canadians, but beyond that, it will have real consequences for you, the American people. As I have consistently said, tariffs against Canada will put your jobs at risk, potentially shutting down American auto assembly plants and other manufacturing facilities. They will raise costs for you, including food at the grocery stores and gas at the pump. They will impede your access to an affordable supply of vital goods crucial for U.S. security, such as nickel, potash, uranium, steel, and aluminum. They will violate the free trade agreement that the President and I, along with our Mexican partner, negotiated and signed a few years ago, during your darkest hours. During the Iranian hostage crisis, those 444 days we worked around the clock from our embassy to get your innocent compatriots home. During the summer of 2005, when Hurricane Katrina ravaged your great city of New Orleans, or mere weeks ago, when we sent water bombers to tackle the wildfires in California. During the day the world stood still, September 11th, 2001, when we provided refuge to stranded passengers and planes, we were always there, standing with you, grieving with you, the American people.
It's kind of wild that Trudeau is the best source of information from a political leader about what's going to happen to Americans, how this will impact you, because Trump is not telling you what's going to happen. So Trudeau there letting Americans know how these tariffs are going to hurt them, as well as discussing how we have worked closely together for decades and how we've been there for Americans over and over and over again. The last example there, I think it's worth just reminding people, since I forgot about this. I was, not very young, but I was young back then. But the Washington Post had a good piece on this. The capital of kindness. On 9/11, the Canadian province of Newfoundland and Labrador showed stranded travelers the true meaning of compassion, and that's how it became a tourist destination. So beautiful image of St. John's here. But at the time, 38 commercial planes and 4 military aircraft were forced to land at Gander International Airport. More than 6,500 passengers descended on several small towns in central Newfoundland. Appleton was one of them. Gander was another. Quote, everybody was doing what they could, said Durham, whose town of 680 residents cared for about 90 passengers for up to 5 days. Quote, the plain people, that's a funny way to refer to them. The plain people needed food and a place to eat and sleep. They needed some assurance, compassion, love, and counseling. They needed someone to give them a warm hug. Canadians have always been there for Americans. And, he mentioned as well the recent fires in California. Canadian planes coming in and dropping water on those fires. Like, it's just, none of this, of course, matters to Trump, of course, but it's disturbing to see how closely Canadians and Americans have worked together for decades upon decades, and for one dipshit and his merry band of morons to come in and try and tear that apart is depressing. There's also that moment as well is also memorialized at the 9/11 Memorial Museum. So you can read this as well. I'll link to this below the video. Let me get to the next clip. This is the tariff response.
I am announcing Canada will be responding to the U.S. trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods. This will include immediate tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods as of Tuesday, followed by further tariffs on $125 billion worth of American products in 21 days' time to allow Canadian companies and supply chains to seek to find alternatives. Our response will also be far-reaching and include everyday items such as American beer, wine, and bourbon, fruits and fruit juices, including orange juice, along with vegetables, perfume, clothing, and shoes. It'll include major consumer products like household appliances, furniture, and sports equipment, and materials like lumber and plastics, along with much, much more. And as part of our response, we are considering, with the provinces and territories, several non-tariff measures, including some relating to critical minerals, energy, procurement, and other partnerships.
So it's impossible to really know right now how this is going to impact Canadians, or I should say how much it's going to impact Canadians, but it is, of course, going to impact Canadians, both the tariffs on Canada, simply because of the jobs that are within Canada that are based around exporting to America, but also the tariffs going the other way. Now, it's good to see like just the fact that he's like, and there'll be tariffs later on. We're going to give these companies time to figure out alternatives, which is such the opposite of what Trump is doing, it's just like out of nowhere, here you go, all these tariffs on everything. Like it's just there's actual thought process here in the tariffs that are being applied to the U.S. as to not have too much of an impact on Canadians and Canadian jobs. So good, keep it going. I'm liking the response so far, even though this is, of course, not a good position to be in. But you can't just sit there and have the U.S. do this without any kind of response. Now, let me get to the last clip here. This is Trudeau talking to Canadians directly.
I also want to speak directly to Canadians in this moment. I'm sure many of you are anxious, but I want you to know we are all in this together. The Canadian government, Canadian businesses, Canadian organized labor, Canadian civil society, Canada's premiers, and tens of millions of Canadians from coast to coast to coast are aligned and united. This is Team Canada at its best. There are many ways for you to do your part. It might mean checking the labels at the supermarket and picking Canadian-made products. It might mean opting for Canadian rye over Kentucky bourbon, or foregoing Florida orange juice altogether. It might mean changing your summer vacation plans to stay here in Canada and explore the many national and provincial parks, historical sites, and tourist destinations our great country has to offer. Canada is home to bountiful resources, breathtaking beauty, and a proud people who've come from every corner of the globe to forge a nation with a unique identity worth embracing and celebrating. We don't pretend to be perfect, but Canada is the best country on earth. There's nowhere else that I and our 41 million strong family would rather be, and we will get through this challenge, just as we've done countless times before, together. Thank you. Merci. Vive le Canada.
All right. Pretty good speech. I'll link to the full thing below the video. It's also worth mentioning that, as I discussed in my last video, the Canadian government is discussing how they are going to help Canadians who are going to be directly impacted by this through a pandemic level response. So potential for, wage subsidies or help with Canadian businesses, as well as potentially, just giving money to Canadians who may lose their job because of these tariffs. So that, I think, is also going to be needs to be part of the response here. That's also going to require them to get back into Parliament, because right now everything's on halt since the leadership race is going on in the Liberal Party. But once things get back to normal, get people the help they need who are ever impacted by this. Also, he mentioned there Buy Canadian. I also think it's worth mentioning that if you, for some reason, are a Canadian who supports an American hockey team, it's time to get on board with the real team. So the Toronto Maple Leafs are welcoming you in. So please join Team Toronto if you care to move away from your disgusting obsession with whether it's the Avalanche, the Boston Bruins, whatever it is. It's time to leave. Get to a Canadian team. All right. Now, that's it. So let me end this video. This has gone on way too long, but I love it. Canada is not backing down, whether they're everyday Canadians, whether it's politicians. We are standing strong together, and we will get through this.